Hello, this is the completion of the 17th day of August 2018. Welcome to the Money Charts channel. Like always, all bets, all trades of the like within your own risk, own reward. On the crypto day morning, I was talking about how this was showing a sign of strength as it was, well, showing strength amongst the 18 average of highs. There is a greater than a half a dozen periods of it just hanging in there amongst the 18 highs. That's the average of the highest of these prices, and front weighted gives more data towards recent time frames. I see it now lifting off past the short-term resistance. If we take a look at this, say on the 15-minute time frame, there was the area where it corrected nicely through time, including this little red fake sell mover, or just an aggressive sell that didn't follow through with any further amounts. And it's had a nice leg since making it up towards, breaking that level of resistance. So then, let's go back to the 3 hour. I look at this market and I look at where it came from. It had this little test in here at this resistance level. I don't like that circle. Let's make it a little smaller. Did so here and did so there. So test number 4 of that particular area. It's like the inverted head and shoulders pattern. This is like a double left shoulder, however you want to place it. The head and then the right shoulder. But the just understanding of that pattern, it's a spot where you're in a downtrend and you rally up to a point, but then it obviously fails to the point of breaking support and making the lower low, which is of course the case there. But what makes it get more progressively better is in a downtrend you expect lower highs. So for an inverted head and shoulders pattern, the key thing is when completing the head formation, the important thing is to come back to where you came from, not make the lower high, at least make a matching, and that's what this would be. But then from there, give back less than what you rallied from. So have a correctionary move from point low to point high, which is what happens when it makes the higher low. There's the enter the higher low, of course, right in there. And then to be able to come back to that point just to get to the neckline shows it had an equal strength in turn. Because you have the bear turn that did this, and then you have a bull turn that did this. I talk about a two-player game, bulls versus bears, up versus down team, however you want to look at it. And in this case, the bulls or the up team have at least from now managed to get it back the exact same amount. That just the trading, just seeing situations where price breaks this level of resistance, it just becomes very common for there to be decent sized moves that would then take it to its next target level. Quickly, you would think that this previous level of resistance at around 6,900 would be the area I would be looking towards. I could also calculate some Fibonacci as well. We have a high in at 84.88. Do we look at? Yep, that's what we're going to go with. And a low of 59 even, it looks like. So let's bring up the calculator. And I already forgot what the high number was. This is dent, by the way. I did this earlier. This was the dent. It came down to 33. I'll put that up next. I put a small purchase into that. And like I stated, I already forgot the high. 8,500 was, we're looking at around 84.88. So we're looking at 67.79 followed by 73.87. So 67.79 would be up towards this point in here, which isn't that much of a leg. So I would think that a conservative move is 6,900, and even maybe up towards the 61.8%, which would be in and around 73.87. Does that coincide with anything? Just a little bit here with this previous support low here. But yeah, a move up to this point on a break of this pattern. Overall, amongst the entirety of this thing, it's like I've been stating for so long that 6,000 has been big support. We've had lots of lower highs. Making moves into the 7,000s would do so when you have an $8,500 previous high. And within the daily, it's correcting within a declining moving average. So it's the bulls are most certainly not in control of this market. If you look for like turns, again, up team versus down team in multiple time frames. Obviously, the down team started their turn here, or the up team ended it. And you can say small little moves in here. So you have, you can maybe you count this, maybe you don't. But overall, from here to here, the bears were in control. Then to here, the bulls were in control. And thus far, the bears have been in control to this low. But if you get to a situation where, say, it resists where we are, we don't go up much further, don't make any moves above the 18 average, and something like this comes in and it makes that point. Just like you could say, do I want to count this low? It's like, yeah, not really. You'd be saying the same thing here. Do you want to count this low? Because highs and lows are definitely well known after the fact. If it makes any type of move decently above the 18, then I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to count the low. Now it's trying to test. Do we play with this here? Do we make a lower high? Oh, yeah, now we're making a lower high. And all those sort of significant moves you can know from that point, again, well after the fact. But the rally that has occurred, of course, has done nothing yet in changing that of the bear market. Moving this on to Dent, as I mentioned, this is something that I got in, but this doesn't have all of the data. This thing had a huge move before. It was like a 700 Satoshi, but it was also broke out from like 5 in last year's rally. But this is the data presented on Binance. I got in today at 29 Satoshi. As just if I'm entering into a position, I want to start with something that's already been down for a while, and of course this one most certainly is the case. And overall, I've been getting, in fact, the only buy that I've been having in the last day and change has been an entry position into Dent. Everything I've traded outside of that, I have sold to the Tether, to Bitcoin, Binance Coin, and even that of Ethereum as different base currencies. But a lot of all these altcoins I have been mainly selling, including Neo, which managed to get down to like $14. Now it's up to that of 20. So what has it done? Well, we talk about different turns. Again, bulls versus the bears. And you have this high, you have this low. Obviously, bears in control. Then the April Fool's rally. And in the situation here, this is a spot where you can make a judgment call. Was there 2 different turns in here, or just want to discount that? Either way, the break of this level of support enabled a decent leg lower. And the leg broke from $27 down to $13. It lost half of its value just on the break of support, and is now just coming to its 18 average of highs in a declining facet. So it's a resistance test at this stage. It can go a long ways more when you look at this level of resistance on stuff like the 3-day time frame, still well below the 18 and a previous key area again at 29. But the volatility of these moves is just magnificent. At the start of the year, this high got up to about 200. Here we're looking at $20, 90% off. And the moves that can occur, and I can take a look at this on a calculated view. and then get more data. Not much more, but some more. This thing went from $5 up to the 200 down to the 20. This used to be known as ant shares back in the day, but this has been definitely one of the markets going higher. And now we got LSK. I'm not trading this against Bitcoin. I trade this against the Binance coin. But when you just look at the size of these moves, you go from, well, the December lows, when it had its big rally, it went from 43,000, that's where the bottom here is right now, up to 321. So that was like an 8x gain along the way. Just from this move in here, it has had about a 50% gain, has gotten above the 18, making a statement. Now the key thing whenever you see a situation like this is it's got to make that higher low. And the 18 average, you see any type of weakness amongst it, like it's going to fail within, then you're seeing the typical failed breakout, then fast move that follows. But I do realize that some of these moves, when they come like this, you're either going to get that little bit of resistance, bear market rallies. But when we scroll back, this is a spot here where you've had some decent amount of gains. In this case, it had already doubled, and it just kept flying through higher for several days. So that's what I'm hoping will happen with a lot of these altcoins, is that we have a good several day rally where a bull team will have their turn, if you will, the up team. And you have like 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 days or some sort of a decent amount of accumulation, where then you talk about altcoin versus altcoins. Oh, this one went up 6 times. Well, hey, I got in this one, I got a 10x gain here and a 20x gain there, so on and so forth, because the capability that this market has those moves. And 14 can be a conservative number, but the capabilities or probabilities are definitely not out of hand because it's happened so many times before. And within the overall moves in here, you can see that this has been a situation where if we go back to the bottom in here from March of 17, that, and you look at least within the strategy that I've talked about within buying low, selling high, always sell orders are when you're going to get from this low to this overall high, but you would have limited buys in here, if maybe just one. Again, a limited amount in here, but everything you'd pretty much be doing is selling in here, because it went from this point down, there'd be another buyback, and then straight selling up towards here. But then in here you have very good amount of buybacks, which would then in this case be you would have sell orders coming into place afterwards, as mainly like right in here you'd be selling whatever or how many times you'd sell. Definitely buyback, some selling, definitely buyback after that. There's the buybacks in here, and then you just be selling like crazy again along this area. Well, from the break out from here to here, there'd be no buybacks. It just goes straight up. Price goes from like 59 up to like 130, so that's about, well, when you look at it from the bottom, that's even triple. And in situations like when you have a day like this, it's so easy to get your buyback, because you would say sell at 29, price is back down to 21. You could buy some of that back, and then you'd get the sell order again. That would be to the point then was, since this top, straight buying in here without really any selling whatsoever. A very small amount to sell here based on buying, of course, and that's if you got in at this bottom and you were happy enough to sell for that minuscule gain. And then it's been nothing. This has been the depressing part of the market, or the unfortunate part that a lot of these altcoins have had, is they've shared this type of look where it's went straight down, not making many lower highs along the way, which in my strategy is what I thrive for, because then instead of getting like 8 buy orders in a row, or having like say 14 out of 15 orders being buys, say from, in this case, the June highs, then I would get some better profits along the way. But I realize when these markets go down like this, they can go up so much faster than they came down. 3 days of going up for what was the decline of like 20 days. That's what these markets do a lot of. And I realize that. So I just basically hold on, and it's like a game in that sense, because I look at it, when you're just buying, your portfolio value is going lower, lower, lower. So it's like you're rolling the dice and you get stuff where you automatically have to pay funds, and which you definitely do. It's not basically, well, it is basic, but that's what you're doing. Is so I look at it as like a loss, but you hang in there. And then every time you get sell orders come in, that means you get scores added to your account. If you call it I guess trading exchanges, you do have the account, but you have more base currency coming in. And when that gets out of hand, if I can get a situation where pretty much all the coins go up for like 10, 20, 60, 80 days, however long it is, I guess not 10, but 20 for 30 minimum anyway, then I can get a lot of base currency and I can do things with the score. I play Tetris. What do I do with my score there? Nothing. But I can take this score, I can move it around how I wish, thus use it as a measure of trade for items. One of those items, of course, being physical silver. That, to me, is part of this trading game. And finally, that of Redcoin. We can see how ever since this has declined back in the end of June, it has just went straight down. A market that has went from 90 Satoshi down to 30, losing a 3x value. Which means there really isn't any or many opportunities for that of selling. And now it has recently made a move up to the 18 highs, but it's been below the lows for quite some time. But to me, it's a safe prediction that and the amount of gains that it gets is going to be a lot quicker than the amount that it has lost. And just like any of these other markets, it is really easy to determine the key turns. Oh, okay. So we start down at the so you start down here. Obviously, the bulls have their turn up to here. There's some buybacks. The bears have their turn. Bulls match. And one way of looking at it is if it goes to the 18 like this after a big move, you can count that as a correctionary move. Here we have another spot where it had its a decent sized move. But when you look at the volatility, when you go from like 86, 82 even down here, and then it rallies up to 140, now you're just talking about a 70% move that occurs in just a matter of a few days. 3 red candles down, losing, and then 2 green candles up. And then you have your move down to this low where it's buyback, quick amounts of selling in there. Of course, you got the buyback before the April Fool's rally. And then the selling, because that's mainly what happened. But when you have situations like days like this is what I love about my strategies when stuff like this happens. Because if I get a sell order at 87 and I see it's back down to 72, I'm going to buy it back. 15-point differential, that's 20%. I sold, say if I sold 1,000, I can buy back another 1,000, or I can buy back 11 or 1,200, and then be able to sell it right back again. Maybe I get this buy here, maybe I don't. It's close when you have a possibility of, say, selling at 94 and buying at 78. Differential there is 14 points. You're talking about 15%. If that's in your realm for how you want to play, then most certainly you can get a lot more trades and it's going to be profitable. But when that is the situation of what you're trying to do, is just even pick away at smaller gains like that, like the 15, 20%, then it really makes it impossible, even at that, to get any sells when stuff like this is going on. But it wouldn't surprise me if it takes like 4 or 5 days just to get back to the 75 level. And that would be very close to double, or even I could say 78. So that of double. That's the way I notice how these markets work. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when it does, and that's not an if, it pretty much is a when for the most part, but that you're going to have just those gigantic size moves. So then I'm going to end this video, as it's been relatively long. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great weekend. Bye-bye.